About 2 years ago, I was watching the Boston Marathon. We were standing right in Kenmore Square with all my friends, and it was a little bit rainy, and these runners were at mile 25 plowing to the finish line. And I was super, super excited, and I just told myself one day I wanted to run a marathon. And now, 2 years later, I'm running for a charity called Dream for Our High School Marathon. They're an after school program for high schools in and around Boston. There's 13 of them that participate, so they run Mondays, Wednesdays after school, and then Saturdays they get together and run the long runs together. So it's a super great program, a lot of mentorship to just show the students a sense of accomplishment and achievement.
There is a backstory. I did try to run it in 2012, didn't quite make it, had my dad come, a seasoned marathoner himself, and it didn't happen for me that year. And sadly, he died in April of 2014, so I kind of just went a little crazy and started running a bunch of marathons and actually qualified after my third one. I ran 5, and I'm very excited to say that I did qualify, and I'm very excited to do this on Monday. And I hope my dad's looking down because I kind of miss him. And this is for him.
I grew up as a little girl watching the Boston Marathon every single Monday with my family. I was always inspired by the athleticism and the speed of all the runners. But after the 2013 Boston Marathon bombing, I suddenly appreciated so much more about these runners. I was inspired by their resilience and strength. Crossing this finish line really as a sign of hope for the rest of the city, proving that no one's going to mess with the city of Boston. In 2014, as a freshman at Boston University, I watched the marathon firsthand in Kenmore Square. I loved all the energy, and I knew that this was something that I had to be a part of by the time I graduated from BU. So my sophomore year in 2015, I committed to running, but I knew that in order to get through 26.2 miles, I had to run for a cause and a group of people much greater than myself. I ran for a charity team supporting individuals with intellectual and mental disabilities, and truly it was the passion I had for this cause that allowed me to cross the finish line in 2015.
I think running the Boston Marathon since 2013, the marathon has just become such a symbol of strength, such a symbol of the fight against evil. And I really do believe that. 2013, this country, this state, this city, we got kicked down. And I just feel like the marathon every year is just a reminder that we got back up. So I think that's pretty cool to be a part of. I also run for an amazing organization, 50legs.org. They provide free prosthetics to amputees, and they've helped a lot of the Boston Marathon victims. So to me, it's just, you couldn't run for a better charity.
I just remember running through the Wellesley Scream Tunnel at like 13 miles, going, oh my God, there's like 3,000 people just all yelling at me to keep running and to keep going, and I was exhausted at this point. Actually the funniest part of running the marathon for me was I got to Heartbreak Hill and I went up it, and I kind of was thinking, oh, that wasn't so bad, maybe that wasn't the actual one. And then people were like dying next to me, and I guess I didn't realize that I was making it up this hill, and so obviously I still kind of had that 20-mile burnout, but it was really incredible after that. And then I ended up seeing my parents. They were at mile 25, and I just hearing them cheer for me and saying like how proud they were of me really just pushed me to the finish. And it was just a really amazing experience to be surrounded by that many people at arguably the coolest marathon in the world. So
running the marathon means a lot to me this year. It is my first marathon, and ever since I watched my first Boston Marathon in 2014, I've told myself I was going to do this. I was lucky enough to be able to get a spot on the Boston Fire Department charity team. Running with Boston Fire is very special to me. My boyfriend, who just fulfilled his lifelong goal of joining the Boston Fire Department, lost his dad in the line of duty. This year, I'll be running in memory of him. I've also learned that my mom, who passed away in a car accident, walked the Boston Marathon with my aunt. And something that we always have had in common is that we are morning people. So every morning I get up and I run. I run with the sunrise and I think of my mom. So you can definitely bet that I'll be thinking about her as I'm running the Boston Marathon this year.
College, I'll be running this Boston Marathon with Beth Israel's Tread Strong team. I'll be specifically fundraising for their annual fund. And so that fund goes towards improving all forms of patient care, whether that be through funding research or increasing educational opportunities for doctors and nurses, in addition to better surgical equipment. Personally, I'll be running it in honor of my grandparents. My grandmother passed away a few years ago of colon cancer. And this past winter, my grandfather passed away from some heart complications. So I'll be running it in honor of them and in honor of all the patients that deserve the best care possible.
The Boston Marathon is like the mecca of running races for any runner. I think that anyone who's gotten into running or has even dabbled with the thought of running a marathon dreams of running in the Boston Marathon. I know I did as soon as I experienced it, and if there's a runner out there that hasn't, they just haven't been in Boston on Marathon Monday. And I guess what kept me motivated through all of that training, I mean, training for a marathon is hard enough, but trying to run at a pace that you don't even think you can run 5 miles at, it takes something else. And I think when I started telling people that I wanted to qualify for the Boston Marathon with this race, it made me keep myself accountable. I didn't want to let those people down, and I don't think I could have gone another Marathon Monday without having ran it.
I own the Tucson Marathon, and so I knew the bombing of the Boston Marathon really affected the way marathons were going to be put on from then on, and Boston in particular. I know the race director, Dave McGilvery, and he was talking about how they spent over $1 million for the security of Boston the year after. And so we got on buses to get bussed up to the start. I only did one way. It was just really, the mood was very subdued, very, very subdued at the start. But the weird thing was there were snipers on all the rooftops. So you're in Hopkinton, you're in the starting lines, and everything certain bags you had to have clear bags, that you weren't allowed to have backpacks or any of that kind of stuff. And I ran the race, and it was subdued, but the people came out. It still had the flavor of Boston. They did an amazing job, as they always do.